Well, Coasters, I'm in Hokitika at the moment at the Hokitika Primary School. Beautiful day. That I don't know what the temperature is, Derek, but it's got to be 17 or 18, doesn't it?
It would have to be.
So I'm with Derek Blight, and Derek's been a big part of Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Westland. So Derek, what is Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Westland?
Big Brothers Big Sisters of Westland is a mentoring program which matches up a volunteer with a child who's probably from a needy family or a family that needs extra help, and the idea is that the volunteer takes them out once a week and has fun with them. And the idea of having fun is to build a long-term friendship with that child over several years, hopefully, especially while that child's at school, and then to be able to have an influence, a positive influence on that child's life, and so that child has somebody outside the family, outside the school, outside their own immediate circle of friends that really takes a special interest in them, so they become really special friends. So at the end of the day, they've got someone that they can look to, someone who's just really special in their life.
Why do you think there's a need for mentoring children and young people in this day and age where communication is instant? And I mean, why is there a need?
There is a need because we have so many families where something is missing, and it might be that dad's missing, it might be that mum's missing, it might mean that the family have got all the rest of their whānau elsewhere around the country. Maybe there's neighbours missing, maybe there's nobody having an input into that child's life or into that young person's life. And so, especially in the day and age that we live in, and especially since COVID-19, there's an even greater need for mentoring, because there's just so many children who need that friendship. They need time, and so often parents are busy, so often families are busy, and some of these children are missing out on really good quality one-on-one time with somebody. And so this is where volunteer mentor can come and just make such a huge difference.
So we talk about volunteer, and obviously members of the community can become involved. What's the role of a volunteer? What do they have to do?
The role of a volunteer is to be a friend. And anybody, of course, can be a friend. A friend is just someone who will take them out once a week and have fun with them. But their role is to be a good listener, someone who answers questions, someone who can tell them anything that the child or young person needs to know, but basically a good friend, and have fun with them.
So let's say there's someone watching this video and they decide they'd like to be a mentor. What's the application process look like?
The application process is quite involved, because we don't want to have anybody volunteering and going out with a child on their own for the wrong reasons. And so we have first of all an application form to fill in.
Yep.
Then we have an interview with myself and our board chair, and then they have a training session. We ask them for names of 3 local people that we can ring up and just ask about their background, and then they also have to go through a police check to make sure they haven't got a police check.
So it's a good solid process.
It's a very solid process, and it weeds out anybody who may be doing it for the wrong reason, or anybody who may have an ulterior motive working with children.
Why the name Big Brothers, Big Sisters? It's an unusual one. Where did that come from?
It came from America 100 years ago, because the program started in America about 1900, and the idea was to match up men with boys and women with girls. So the men became big brothers and the women became big sisters. So it's an international organisation now, which is in something like 35 countries of the world, and it's been in New Zealand for probably, I don't know, 25 years.
And what about around New Zealand? So are there lots of areas that actually have mentors in place?
Yes, we have Big Brothers Big Sisters is not only in Hokitika, but also in Greymouth and Westport, Christchurch, North Canterbury, Nelson, Motueka, Golden Bay.
Oh wow.
And heaps of places in the North Island as well. And besides that, down around Dunedin and Invercargill, there's another mentoring program called Big Buddies, and that runs along very, very similar line. That's just been started by somebody else. So we've got the South Island pretty well covered.
Hey, what's in it for a volunteer?
What's in it for a volunteer? It's having loads of fun and doing something that you probably would never think of doing by yourself, because you'd say, oh, I couldn't justify spending the time doing that by myself. But when you're doing it with a child or a young person, then that's what makes all the difference. But it also, what's in it for yourself is the fact that you're giving something back to the community. And a lot of people don't like going to meetings or being in some sort of formal organisation, but they do enjoy just having fun and just letting their hair down.
Being a kid again.
Just being a kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, so when I hear about some of the things that the volunteers do with their boy or with their girl, I'm almost jealous, because I think, I'd love to do that sort of thing. I'd need a good excuse to do it. You know, I need a boy or that I could go and do it with.
Now, Derek, you've been involved in this role for many, many years. How do you know it works? Does it,
I've been in this role for 16 years.
Wow.
And in that time, I have seen amazing changes in children's attitude, behaviour, their respect for authority, just the way they conduct themselves, the way they're interested in the world, the way they want to give something back to the community. I've just seen so many positive changes. That's what spurs me on to keep going and keep supervising the program in Hokitika.
What protects the young kids? Do you have policies and procedures in place?
Yes, we have policies and procedures which we have to stick to, because we're audited by Big Brothers Big Sisters of New Zealand every year, and those policies and procedures are just not New Zealand wide, but they are international policies and procedures. And if we don't stick to them, we lose the right to have the name Big Brothers Big Sisters of Hokitika, of Westland.
Right.
Yeah.
So, let's say there's a mum or a dad or an uncle or an auntie or a granddad out there that is looking and watching this interview, and he knows somebody who he thinks could benefit, he or she. What does he do?
He gets in touch with me either by phone or text or email or messenger and says, I've got a child that I think would benefit hugely from this program, and I will send him a referral form which he can fill in. And that referral form can be filled in literally by any adult at all. It could be a neighbour, it could be a friend of the family, it could be a school teacher, it could be anybody at all can fill in a referral form.
So the key is just finding someone you think that could really benefit.
True.
For whatever reason.
Yep.
Derek, has COVID-19, I mean, it's hard to do an interview these days without talking about it. Has it impacted on the process?
Yes, it has, because we're seeing more and more children that have been neglected, I guess would be the biggest thing, and mainly because some families are struggling to make ends meet. Families are out spending more time working, and so we're getting a segment of children that are just neglected where they shouldn't be neglected.
Yeah.
And that's where a volunteer can step in and make all the difference in that child's life.
And of course it's so hard for the mums and dads too. They've got to put food on the table, they've got to pay the mortgage,
Yep.
and sometimes the wee fella or the wee girl just misses out, don't they?
Yep. Yeah. And the good thing is mentoring doesn't cost anything except time. That's all it's going to cost, somebody's time to go and take an interest in somebody else's child.
What motivated you to get involved 16 years ago?
I heard the New Zealand coordinator speak at a public meeting in Greymouth, and I thought, of all the ways we can help kids today, this has got to be a good way, because we're using volunteers, so we don't have to pay volunteers.
Yep.
We're targeting children and young people that are missing out on the benefits that you and I have had in growing up in a good family home, and now let's just do it.
I love it.
So we had a public meeting in Hokitika, it would be 15 years ago, and we had about 20 people turned out in the council chambers.
Gosh.
And that was the beginning of it here in town.
So look, you said that this is really easy. If you want to be a volunteer, or if you know a child that could really benefit from it, just contact me. What does that mean? Who are you? How do I find you on Uncle Google? What's your phone number? Do you have an email address?
You can find me on Messenger. Just search for Derek Blight on Messenger. You can ring me on my cell phone 021 215 6252.
Right.
You can email me at derek.blight@bigbrothersbigsisters.org.nz. Or you can just go into Hartman's, because I have a part-time office in the Hartman's building in Tancred Street, and they will take the details for me.
Well, Derek, look, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and explain the background and the benefits that Big Brothers Big Sisters can bring to our West Coast community, our Westland community. Appreciate the time you've taken, and thank you so much.
You're welcome, Bruce. Very welcome.